well, artists need protection, more protection around AI. Depend on someone else for the work, but find a way to get your work out there and connect directly with clients. So I think that's part of being an entrepreneur, finding a way to do what you really enjoy, but will yet bring in money too. The most interesting challenges I've had as an actor are the shoots.
Sounds very fun, kind of a job, right? You use
it's fun.
voice and
it's not that expensive to get into voiceover. I think the most important thing is you need to have.
Hello, everybody. Today on Infinite Icons, we are thrilled to welcome Kris Keppeler, a talented narrator, a voice artist, actor, and a writer. Kris is truly a versatile storyteller who has mastered the art of bringing content to life with emotion, depth, and authenticity. You wouldn't want to miss this episode since Kris brings insights into the world of storytelling, creativity, and how to build a career in multiple disciplines. And this conversation is packed with practical advice that you can use right away. So stay tuned. And if you already have not subscribed to the channel, this is a perfect time to hit that subscribe button. So thank you for doing so and stay put. Let's welcome our guest today.
hello, Kris. Welcome to Infinite Icons.
Hey, thank you for having me.
It's so wonderful to have you. So whereabouts in the world are you coming to us from?
From Seattle, Washington.
Washington, Seattle. Awesome. I've been there a couple of times. I think it's usually very drizzly there. How is it now in spring?
It's drizzly today. But we've had some nice weather, and we're scheduled to have more nice weather in a couple more days. So yeah. In spring here, it's like if you don't like the weather, wait a few minutes and it'll probably change.
That's probably going on most of the places, I guess. The same here in California. Every day it's a different day, different feel.
Yeah.
Great. So excited to have you today. So tell us, what is the real meaning of voiceover?
Voiceover. I really love voiceover because I started out as a singer and then got into acting. And I find that voiceover combines the two, acting and singing skills. And I use both when I step in front of the mic. And so it's a really great way to use those skills that I love. Yeah.
Awesome. What inspired you to be a voice artist?
It was a way to utilize my acting skills more. Was suggested to me, and also because I'm a singer, especially when I was getting into voiceover, it was recommended that voice actors have singing skills, which I already had. And so that's why I gave it a try and really enjoyed it. And it's like, I'm going to keep going with this.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about your experience with audiobooks and e-learning. How has your experience been in that area?
Well, audiobooks are really great for actors. In fact, they prefer to hire actors to do audiobooks. And that's fiction and nonfiction. I'm actually a nonfiction specialist. I just find I enjoy nonfiction because I get to learn while I'm narrating. And I still get to use my acting skills. Because there's, even in nonfiction, there's a lot of pacing that you need to pay attention to, that you would naturally as an actor. I've also done some fiction, in which I took on doing multiple characters, And although I'm an actor, I found that doing multiple characters was still a real challenge. And I just have never gotten terribly as comfortable with it as I would actually in just doing it on stage or in film. It's more challenging in audiobooks to do multiple characters. I think some actors are more comfortable than others with that. And e-learning, like I say, I love to learn, and so it's a great way to learn. and and get paid for narrating. So I've done some really interesting projects. During the pandemic, I narrated a series of videos teaching math to kids, and that was I enjoyed doing that. It was fun to brush off my geometry vocabulary.
Amazing, yeah.
And I've done all sorts of e-learning, teaching all sorts of things. And my voice is good for that because I sound like a teacher.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I mean, you have a
yeah.
very comforting voice, actually.
Yes,
You could do
yes,
teaching, or even otherwise, you can even be a counselor, maybe. I'm just,
yes,
that sounds
yes,
like very
yeah,
comforting.
yeah. In audiobooks, I'm a natural fit for spirituality, um, health and fitness,
Hmm.
kids. I love doing kids stuff, and also self-development. And then I've also done some memoirs too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Going back to your initial days when you started off on your own,
Yes.
how did you organize your day? Because, as entrepreneurs, as new business owners, we are like spread all over, and
Yes.
it's hard to get control of your schedule. So, how
Yeah.
did you manage to your voice gigs, your acting, and your personal life also? So, how did you juggle all of them?
Well, I learned really quickly that I need to schedule, you know, schedule myself. Otherwise, I was going to end up working 7 days a week, and I got really tired. So I make sure that I have at least one day off. Saturday's my day off. I don't do anything creative on Saturdays. And also, I I I have a schedule that works with my natural rhythm. I am not an early riser or a late nighter. And so my schedule is based around the fact that I work best midday. And so all my stuff is scheduled like 10 to 6 usually. Break for lunch. I do some work in the evenings, but it's usually just some catch up work. I don't plan anything heavy duty in the evenings, and I only work generally for a few hours then. And I only schedule if I have something else I want to do, like marketing, networking and stuff. I only schedule one of those per day, Monday through Friday. And if I schedule more than that, I know that I'm going to end up over scheduling myself. So, and then I also schedule myself based on, well, this week looks light, so I can maybe squeeze something else in here, or but I don't schedule that until I know what's going to happen that week, which can be hard as a freelancer because you never know when something's going to come up. So I just need to make sure that I've got free time unscheduled, that maybe I'm going to need to slip a job in here. And so I just learned that over time by overworking myself and going, well, this isn't working. I need to. So it's setting a schedule, adhering to that schedule. Otherwise, you it's just you end up overworking yourself.
So true, especially when you're on your own and you are responsible for your day, for
Yeah,
your whatever you do.
yeah,
It's easy to get overworked or even, miss out on some. So, as you said,
yes,
it's best to be, you're
yes,
aware of your schedule and stick to it, and
yes.
that should help.
Yeah, sticking to that schedule is really important. Yeah.
Got you, got you. And you say you're from Seattle, and in my opinion, usually actors and voice actors, artists are around the Hollywood area. How has it worked out for you, being so far away from the actual the acting hub?
Well, as far as just straight acting goes, yeah, there's not that much opportunity here. And most of it's commercial. I have been doing auditions, but they've all been commercial auditions.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's commercial auditions usually have a different slant to them. Often it's just me talking about myself. They have some specific questions they want me to answer, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
So they're kind of simple, and you don't have to memorize dialogue and stuff. But there's also lots more competition. As far as voice acting, there are some things that you're more limited, like animation.
Mm-hmm.
Since animation takes place usually in certain places, if you don't live there, the opportunities are more limited. Although it's still possible, because voice acting, you can really do it from anywhere.
Right.
You can send your MP3 recording anywhere in the world, and I have. I've worked for clients in Asia, in the Middle East, in the UK, in Europe. I have a video game credit on IMDb, and that studio was actually in Eastern Europe.
So cool.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's voice acting you can do from anywhere. So yeah.
So, do you need to have a special setup for your recording? And yeah, tell us a little bit about that too.
Yeah, for doing voiceover nowadays, you need your own small studio, which you need a space that's sound dampened.
Oh.
Yeah. Unless you live in a really quiet place, then I live in a quiet neighborhood, and still I need a sound dampened studio. It's just a few feet away here.
Okay.
They're not that hard to make. You can do a makeshift one, even just hanging up, blankets or used moving blankets are really good. We did, it turns out we have an alcove here. And so what I did is put up sound dampening in the alcove, and then we put up some sound dampening curtains, which weren't that expensive, around the outside. So it's not that expensive to get a sound dampened place. It's a little bit of work. I mean, you can buy a little booth that you can move into your house if you've got the space. But just picking a place, there's some narrators that still narrate in their walk-in closet, because that's a great place. All the clothes around you serve as a sound dampener. So that's the most important part, is having good sound insulation. And then you need a decent mic. And choosing a mic depends on your voice. If you can find a local place that will let you try out mics, that's good. If you happen to have a podcasting or voiceover conference in your area, lots of times they have vendors there that have mics set up that you can try out. I went to a podcasting conference several years ago where I got to try out some mics because they were there. Most of them were more for podcasting, but some of them would have been great for both voiceover or podcasting. And that was really fun. So it's, I have a really basic condenser mic, probably certainly for audiobooks and e-learning and stuff, a condenser mic is best.
How about the recording equipments?
Mhm.
Should you have really high-end equipments for recording and editing? Do you also do editing?
Yes, I taught myself editing, audio editing. As an actor, I've also had to teach myself some basic video editing, which is much more difficult than audio editing. You don't need really, you need a good condenser mic. And those are going to be around just a decent one starts at $300 or $400 and goes on up. But it's more matching your voice to the best mic. Or what I happen to have a Rode NT1A, which is good for audiobook work because it's a quiet mic. And then for condenser mic, you need an interface. Those aren't that expensive. I have an Audiobox, not that expensive. Those can run you only $100, $200. And then just a computer. It doesn't really matter what kind. I'm just have a plain old laptop, you know. I happen to be a Windows user. So that's just what I've learned on and I'm comfortable with. And so it doesn't, and then recording software is not that expensive. Audacity is free. Although it's a fairly minimal program. I never got to work right. So there's, I think Reaper is only $100. Is what is a good recording software. There's, I think GarageBand for Macs is not that expensive. It's good. I use a relatively unknown suite of programs that has an audio recorder, and that's AVS4U. I like it because it's a suite of audiovisual programs, and I also use the video editor. There's other programs in it that I use. And so, no, you don't need expensive. You don't have to have Adobe Audition.
There you go. Yeah, I imagine it's a pretty compact setup for your voice talents, right?
It's not that expensive to get into voiceover. I think the most important thing is you need to have a sound dampened space. Because that's, everybody has a studio now that you're competing with. And it's, if you're sending people recordings with extraneous noise, they're not going to hire you back. So, yeah. And audiobooks are not going to pass QC and get published. So that's, I think the sound dampened space is most important, a good studio space.
Awesome. Sounds very fun kind of a job, right? You use your
it's fun.
voice. And have you also tried different accents?
I have done, I'm not so much good at accents because I'm not a good mimic.
Okay.
My specialty is more in creating unique characters and the sounds that go with those characters. So, I can do a couple accents really well, but good accents are not easy. So, like I say, I have more fun doing special characters.
Nice. You definitely, do a lot of voice changes.
Yes, that's the most fun,
Yeah.
coming up with the voice for Ernie the Earthworm, or what does an aardvark sound like? You know?
Goodness, yeah. We know how a Minnie Mouse or a Mickey Mouse sounds, or even a Donald Duck, but yeah.
But yeah, the more unusual, the more fun it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's the most challenging part of your work? It seems to be all fun and nice to me. So is there any challenges?
I would say, as far as overall voiceover work, audiobooks are the most challenging because it's uh, hours and hours of work. They're huge projects. Even an hour book, it's more than an hour in the studio to get it narrated. And then you've got another, 2 or 3 hours editing, mastering. Yeah,
Oh
it's,
yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
audiobooks are, yeah. I find the most challenging just because it's such a big project. Yeah, such a big project.
You're right. It's not just reading. I remember when my
Yeah,
daughter was in her elementary school, I used to go volunteering in the class, and during their reading, the teacher you always used to say that we're not bots, so we're not going to read like robots. So
yeah, yeah.
have some life into it,
Yes,
give your emotions to it. That makes a whole lot of difference. And she used to
yes,
demonstrate the same. So
yep,
it's definitely fun and a huge difference from what we usually hear these days many a times, the AI generated audio books and
yeah,
even podcasts. I think the AI has intervened,
yes, yes.
so
It
definitely a
has.
human
Yes,
touch is
yes,
uncomparable.
yes. Yeah.
Right. How has it been for you as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur running your own stuff, and also being hired by big establishments? How has been your experience in those areas?
Generally, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to be a freelancer. There's a lot of competition in voiceover. Um, and as a very creative person, marketing is difficult. So it's been a real challenge. I have a tendency to work with smaller clients. Um, I haven't worked with a lot of big companies. Um, Usually, if I work with bigger companies, it's actually more in through the acting, and through my agent. I have an agent here in town. And so, I mean, the big projects that I book through my agent are always fun.
So true.
But otherwise, it's just a challenge. Clients can be challenging. After a while, you learn to look out for ones that may be too challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's difficult to run your own business.
Yeah.
And I especially for creatives, finding clients, and finding voiceover, so much of it is one off, and so you're constantly looking for clients, which is, it's a bit of a downer.
Right. Right.
That's one of the reasons I've started my own YouTube channel, um, and trying to monetize it, so I don't not so I'm doing what I love without having to be in the constant lookout for clients. So yeah, I think it's always good to see if you can start maybe a YouTube channel, a way to not just be a freelancer looking for work, but a way to have your own business, doing something you enjoy that's either related to that work. Like my YouTube channel, I'm narrating stories. So it's like, I love to tell stories. So it's a way to get to read lots of great stories and then narrate them. and I love collaborating with the writers whose work I feature. So I'm getting to do something I really love, but it's my own little business, and yeah. So I'm always looking for a way. I've now started a Substack also, related to my passion for women's rights and women in leadership. And so that's another way to have my own little, I get to do some writing that really interests me. And then it's then part of my own little business that I get to work on and find ways to build. That's doing my own thing. So I think that's part of being an entrepreneur, finding a way to do what you really enjoy, but will yet bring in money too. Building revenue's a big challenge if you're not in a, typical niche. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So true. On the same lines, how can somebody promote themselves as a voice artist? Because it is, as you said, the niche is so very limited, or maybe because of the location, there are
Yeah,
challenges of its own. So how can they promote themselves?
yeah, it's more there's so much competition out there.
Mhm.
So I use social media. You can do the pay to play sites, although I haven't found those to be helpful for me. Some voice actors have found them very useful. I haven't gotten ROI on them, return on my investment. I've had great luck with the freelancer site Upwork.
Mm.
So that's freelance sites are another way. And I know I've heard of voice actors having luck with ads on Facebook. I haven't had with ads on Facebook. Reach out to authors. If you're in audiobooks, reach out to authors directly. You can get on narrator lists. Networking. I've heard from voice actors where networking is they've been really good. I network a lot, and I'm starting to get some jobs from that. Some networking sites like Alignable, which is a small business networking site. So there are lots of different ways depending on where you fit in the voiceover world and what your voice sounds like. There's for audiobooks, there's some platforms, ACX, which is the back office for Audible. You can go out there and audition. There's Academy Voices where you can find auditions. There's Authors Republic where you can find auditions. So a lot of voiceover is audition, just like for
Yes.
actors. So that's where I've sort of gone with doing my own YouTube channel, starting a Substack page. Yeah, where you can sort of do your own little thing. And it's not a constant audition, because depending on what your voice fits, depending on the age of your voice, sometimes auditions are really limited.
Cool, so cool. I'd like to know from our audience if there are any artists in the audience, and what has been their experience with auditions, and even if you're not an artist, do let us know where you're joining us from. So keep it moving. So that'll be fun. And Kris, about your acting, you've been part of so many beautiful movies, including Seven Witches.
Yes.
How was your, acting experience? And it's a pretty big cast and big production. So tell us a bit about it. Did you have to travel for the shooting, and how long was it? Tell us everything.
Yeah, it was actually shot locally in the state. And it was the biggest production I've worked on since it was, the producers were out of LA. And so we had a few LA actors, but the majority of the actors were local Washington actors. But since it had a bigger budget, it was really fun because the costumes were specially made for us, especially fitted. It's like, whoa, this is, which is its own challenge because it took me like 10 minutes to get into costume because it was like so many layers and those black, Victorian dresses style. It was like, wow. We did travel to different, I think the farthest we traveled, was over to the Olympic Peninsula, where we shot at one of the state parks over there, which was gorgeous. Oh, that was so much fun. We're in such a beautiful city. It was right on the water. And so we were staying right there. Just a beautiful setting. It was kind of chilly, but the one good thing about the Victorian costumes is it was easy to stay warm. It had so many layers on. However, it did prove a challenge when I had to use the porta potty.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, porta potties were not made for voluminous Victorian dresses. And it was, so that was really fun to get to go to the peninsula and film there. I think that was the longest that we went, and we were there for a couple days. One day, the weather was a big problem because of the wind. And then we got to wade into Puget Sound. That was, luckily I had special booties for that. But still, things got a little damp.
Right. I know weather is such a major thing, especially when you're outdoors and shooting for your, both the visuals and your audio, everything gets a little muffled. Wind.
Outdoor shoots are always the most interesting challenges I've had as an actor are the shoots. One of the first films I did was supposed to be done in the summer, and then they had problems, and then it ended up being done in the winter, and I'm laying on the pavement in downtown Seattle in November. The pavement is cold.
I can imagine, yeah.
And let's see, another shoot I was on, we were on a hill in Everett where there were some old railroad tracks that weren't in use anymore. And it was July, but I think it was maybe June. Anyway, if you're on a hill in Everett in June at night, it was a night shoot. It's not particularly warm. And I was in a little, house dress. It was like,
wow.
Oh, yeah. So I've gotten pretty cold. Haven't really been on a shoot where I've gotten too hot because it just doesn't get that hot. This, in this area, it doesn't really get that hot. So I did do a shoot in Snoqualmie as a featured extra on Three Busy Debras, which was on the Cartoon Network as part of their Adult Swim. There was a couple seasons of it, and that was early September. It was still warm out. We're out in Snoqualmie. It was sunny, and but that was a totally union shoot. Half the crew were from LA. Most of the actors are from LA, so they literally had umbrellas out for us to stand under, so we didn't stand in the sun. So yeah, that was a little warm, but it was fun because they protected us from the sun and stuff. So
Cool. Cool, cool.
Yeah.
I think it's fun to be, in a big crew and all of you going through all those things with your
Yes.
costumes, makeup, weather. Yeah.
Yeah. Since that was a full union shoot, that was, full, costumes, makeup. Um, so that was really fun to have that. You don't have that on indie film shoots. So the only thing was, they wanted my hair I was playing an Amish woman, so my hair had to be perfect, perfectly coiffed, perfect. And so she's like, well, I'm putting some stuff in your hair. It's sort of like sand, but you can comb it out. I'm sorry, no. That stuff didn't come out. It was like I had to wash it twice to get it
Oh.
out. Yeah. So it's like, uh, there's always weird challenges that you end up. It's like, yeah.
Oh, cool. Nice. I think we should discuss a little bit about the AI's intervention even to
Yes.
the art and performance field.
Yes.
So, are you intimidated, or is that okay if AI has come in?
Well, I think that, artists need protection, more protection around AI. But it's also, I view it as, I don't really understand why anyone would want it to replace anything artistic. Because that's not art if you're using some combination of someone else's work to. However, I do view it as a really great tool to enhance my creative work. In my writing, I use Grammarly. That's technically AI. And I use it to make my headlines better. I don't use the headline it gives me. I take what it gives me and look at it and go, oh, I can use this word or that word and squeeze that in here. And then I have all of a sudden a better headline that I've put together myself because I've used it to brainstorm better ideas. Better ideas for headlines. I don't even use it to write outlines at this point because it's just so boring.
So, right.
Just we need more boring writing. And some things it's just not good for at all. I thought, I do some astrology writing for a client. And I thought, well, that should be a slam dunk. Maybe I can just get it to give me the most important astrology, things happening this month. Nope.
Oh, okay.
The really esoteric stuff, it's not good at all.
Mm.
Or it hasn't been. I haven't been. Yeah. So, but it's a really good tool for certain things. Like I say, things like Grammarly, structuring your sentences a little better, or another way to structure a sentence. Writing headlines, as far as brainstorming better headlines. And as far as voiceover for audiobooks, there's a company, Positron, where it will proof the books for you, which is a huge time saver. Huge. It's huge.
Right.
And yeah, it's a really great tool. And I really don't understand why you'd want to use it as more than a tool to make you're writing better, to cut down on editing time with voiceover, proofing time with audiobooks. It's yeah, it's a great tool, and I think we really need to think of it as a tool to enhance what we're doing. Because why would you want to replace creative, your own, the creativity of humanity with something that's, a mishmash of a bunch of other people's stuff? It doesn't make any sense. What makes sense is a tool to automate things, brainstorm, come up with better ideas, and then you put your spin on those ideas. So, which, probably makes better stuff even, because you're thinking of things that you might not have thought about. So that's my take on AI, but I really like to see more. We need to be more protective of artistic stuff, all kinds, literary, performing, voice. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. AI is such a beautiful tool. You can use it to generate ideas, and as you said,
Yes.
even enhance your own work. So that's
Yes.
absolutely good. But relying totally on that and outsourcing all your talents
It
to AI
doesn't.
is not okay.
It just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to me.
So cool. Right. That was amazing. So here we go with the fast five questions. So you could give me a word or a sentence long answer.
Okay.
Okay. Right. What's the best advice you ever received?
Be yourself. Be authentic.
Excellent. What are you still working on as an entrepreneur?
Marketing. Better marketing.
Right. That's a thing for all of us, I think. Yeah. What's your favorite free time activity?
Working out. I love to work out. I do resistance training.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So what would you be if you were not what you're today?
Would I be? I would. I would still be a creative of some sort. Yeah. I just creating is my thing. Whether writing, singing, performing, something else. I would be creating something.
I love that. Yeah. And one word to describe you?
Persistent.
Awesome. Well, that's what we all need to get somewhere, right? Persistence. Nothing happens without that. Amazing. I like that. All right. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach you?
You can go to my website, kriskeppeler.com.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can schedule a free consult with me out there. You can hear my demos, and you can learn a little bit more about what I do. Yeah.
Excellent. So, what's your message to our audience who are probably artists or not? What's your message to them?
Be yourself and look for ways. I would say look for ways to network with other artists, and look for ways to just not audition, depend on someone else for the work, but find a way to get your work out there and connect directly with clients and make your own stuff and get it out there.
Got you. Got you. Excellent. That was fantastic, Kris. Thank you so much for your time today
Thank
and your
you.
insights. It was beautiful talking to you, and there is so much for a voice artist. So cool. Thank
Okay.
you, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks, you too.